Hello, I'm Dave Feinlieb, and this is Beyond the Shelf. This show is an open exploration of the people and process behind e-commerce. Through conversations with innovators in the space, we learn the stories of these leaders and their strategies for e-commerce success. You can find out more about how we're helping leading brands and retailers build retail media and product detail page content faster than ever before at itsrapid.ai. My guest on today's show is Gabe Wight, General Manager, Retail E-commerce Analytics at 1WorldSync. Gabe previously founded Webata, a leader in e-commerce analytics, which was acquired by 1WorldSync in 2023. Prior to Webata, Gabe was Senior Vice President of Client Innovation at White Spider and worked in a number of brand and agency roles, including at Saatchi and Saatchi X and Mars Advertising. We discuss Gabe's insights into e-commerce analytics, his agency experience, and his entrepreneurial journey at Webata. Please enjoy my conversation with Gabe Wight. Gabe, welcome to the show.
Hey, Dave. Good to see you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We kind of have, we go way back in this space. You have been in and around the space for a few years, as have I. And would you take us back, get us started? How did you get your start in this part of the world?
Dave, long story that I'll try to consolidate down, but I think importantly, or the key markers that will lead us to today is when I was in high school in the 90s, I worked at Walmart, and it was kind of early 90s and worked at the store, just trying to get, a little gas money, and Supercenter was a new idea. And I worked at a store not too far from the home office. And so we got a lot of executive visits, and, half the executives would come through and say, I cannot believe Walmart is trying to sell grocery. What a terrible idea. There's spoilage. There's no margin. Who trusts Walmart for their groceries? And about half the execs would walk through and say, this is brilliant. We're going to have so many shoppers coming through. And, fast forward, of course, grocery becomes the cornerstone of Walmart. And then finished grad school, went to work for a small independent shopper marketing agency, Thompson Murray, that was then purchased by Saatchi and Saatchi X in the Publicis group. I had the good fortune to lead our Walmart relationship. And so we would go to, the year beginning meetings and sit in executive meetings, some of them. And the discussion, this is in the mid 2000s, was entirely around how do we now get people to cross the aisle? Everyone's shopping us for grocery, and that's it. We need them to cross the aisle into general merchandise. And so that was a lot of our work at the time as an agency, is just encourage people without physically moving them. So we did a lot of work around adjacencies and how do departments lay out? How do we encourage traffic flow to some of those better margin departments and categories? Well, then fast forward 10 more years, and Walmart launches this thing they called online grocery pickup. There was no delivery at the time. And this is just like 7-8 years ago. It hasn't been that long. And they're testing it. And I'm saying, wait, I've seen this before. And half the execs you hear out of Walmart are like, man, who wants an associate to pick out their head of lettuce or their watermelon or their steak? And I'm thinking, I really don't want to go to the store and walk to the back for a gallon of milk. This just seems like a no-brainer to me. And so I saw that whole thing kind of play out, just the pattern, which is one of the benefits that of being, in the business for a while and maybe putting a few gray hairs in the beard and on the head, is that you see these patterns that just repeat themselves. And it just felt like a real opportunity as that was being launched to say, okay, this is time to do something with that. And how do you really, Samsung, they've been selling online for a long time, books, but frozen chicken and canned soup, online was brand new for them.
What a great set of experiences. So much to unpack there. I'm going to come back to a few things you mentioned. Year beginning meetings, the agency part of things, so many great pieces of the puzzle. Tell us about the entrepreneur part, though, before we get too far down the path.
Yeah, I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit, and have done, throughout early days and on through. And then when I left the agency world, I went and oversaw a small media agency. We had rights to high schools across America, and that was fascinating. I really enjoyed that. And it was a well-established business, but it was still in startup, and we were starting a lot of new or a couple of new business units and a lot of new lines of business. And it was just, that entrepreneurial spirit was just fueled there. And then from there, I went and ran marketing for a group of outdoor brands that had been bought by an investment group. And that was just so much fun to, again, have the fingers dirty. And one of the things there that I didn't mention is eComm rolled up to me from a P&L perspective. And we sold through like the, Dick's and Academy and Bass Pro, and then a lot of mom and pop stores that had a small, and in some cases, a rather large eComm presence. But there's no data. And it's like, how do you really run this business? We're selling, we see dollars come through, and we see, maybe a little bit of unit attribution, but there was no data. And that's really where the startup mindset came from, is, that we as, we're all in retail. E-commerce is retail. The brick and mortar store is retail. We're all in retail. And to get the most out of retail, you have to have a good handshake between the retailer and the supplier, who are working together to meet business objectives. And of course, those objectives are never around decline. It's always around how do we grow? And it requires data, and there has to, and you really need good data to have, to make those recommendations. You can be sure that they're something you can do systematically, they're repeatable, they, and really, back in a lot of times to the principles of retail. And that's really where, launched Webata, 5-something years ago now. And that was really the impetus. Is I kind of understand some of the foundation pieces of retail, and that doesn't change when you go to eComm. But the data didn't exist for how you go to eComm and go to market. And so that's really where we started.
And why was that? It seems like data is such a core part of what you need, especially when it comes to digital online, and yet it wasn't available.
Yeah, that's right. I think a lot of course, when we launched Webata, we really had to focus around the traditional brick and mortar retailers that were now getting into online. So Walmart, Target, Kroger, and all of their data pipeline was built around what's happening in the store, what's happening, which is the lion's share of sales still today, but certainly then, it was all the lion's share of sales. And so the data didn't exist. Number one. Number two, piping that data from the retailer to the supplier, those pipelines weren't built yet to a vendor who's selling in. And number three, I think a lot of us, it's really easy to get maybe wrapped up in the shiny objects, all the things you can do for eComm, and pass over, like, you can advertise here, you can run this promotion, you can do these things. And we lose some of the just basic fundamentals of how do you grow a retail business? How do you lay the right foundation and build on that? And that's where we came in, and we saw that data certainly didn't exist at the time around some of those core fundamentals.
How did you get your first customer?
I called a friend. How do we all get our first customer? Was my brother Salsa. Oh my goodness. And Blake and Ashley Pointer was running it, and wonderful people. And I called them, I said, hey, we're launching this thing. Would you be our customer? I think our first check was like $8. And I remember, no, our first was like $5. And then, so the first 2 months we had $13 and something cents of revenue. And, thank you, my brother Salsa, for giving us our first bit of revenue. But called a friend, and, fortunately for us, we had such unique, positioning within the market. No, we were early, and there's such a benefit to being early. There's also the other side, which is being early. There are no budgets allocated for eComm before eComm is a real thing.
Yeah.
And so we fought that so much of there are no budgets, because the sales data didn't exist. How much of your sales are going through eComm for some of these retailers? There was very, very difficult to justify back to the organization of let's budget in when the organization says,
right,
this is a fad. This will work. It's a fad. It's not going to happen. All that. And so the flip side is there's no budget already allocated to go fight for. The good side is most of the things we're talking about, these people had never, our clients had never heard of before.
Exactly.
And because it's all brand new. And I think we're all still figuring out, right? I mean, it's there. Dave, I don't know about your background, but I'd be willing to bet, like me, you don't have an eComm degree. 99+% of the people listening to your podcast don't have eComm. We're all still trying to figure it out. Thankfully, now we have good best practices and all that, but still, it is. We all have to maintain that entrepreneurial mindset because we're all looking for a percent or two over here and a percent or two over here, and where do we go gather that growth?
Incredible. The company was acquired by 1WorldSync. Tell us about that. What was the experience like?
Wonderful, actually, wonderful. And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say it's really providence of God or something. How this all came together is just wonderful. I was sitting at my desk one day and got a phone call, and 1WorldSync was looking to add analytics suite. So 1WorldSync is really the best in the world at aggregating, at housing, aggregating, syndicating product data to retailers, and do such an amazing job and have such a rich legacy. But they really didn't have an analytics suite of any kind. So it is one thing to send product information to a retailer. It's another thing to say, now how's that product performing and where may you have gaps and that sort of a thing. And so I think they looked at us and said that's a natural fit to bring analytics in. And maybe more complete that circle of we have the things, we send them out, now we know what that's doing out there, and create that ecosystem of growth. And that's really what we're after, is being able to very succinctly, if you do this, then these kind of results will happen, and get from all the things you can do down to that set of what are the things I should do. And those are often, it's very, very different to be able to make those decisions.
Gabe, I have a ton of questions I want to ask you about the tactics and the approach around keywords and so many other areas. Before we talk about that, two things. One, a shout out to our mutual friend, Randy Mercer, who put us back in touch after all these years. So thank you, Randy, for that. Two, this ability that you seem to have this natural capability to talk marketing, and then you get excited about the data. And did you have a background in stats or data, or did you just kind of see the window and then you learned it?
I would say that I have a natural bend toward numbers. I was always good at math and always good at pattern recognition. And that's really important in what we do, is that pattern recognition. As I've already mentioned about it, even how grocery came into the store at Walmart and then online at Walmart, just that pattern recognition. I've always had a natural ability toward that. But I don't know that I could ask for a better background in the agencies I worked for and the bosses I had in, then post-agency, the organizations, and just the well-rounded experience in some of those. And I still think like a marketer, but I really, really love the data. One thing on that, a great lesson. I was working at Saatchi & Saatchi, and Andy Murray, who was leading Saatchi & Saatchi, just a brilliant individual, and learned so much from Andy. He had a meeting, and I think it was Doug Dane, who was one of the upper merchants at Walmart at the time, and in apparel. And Doug was asking, okay, do you put all the shirts on this rack and all the shorts on this rack? And someone said, yeah, that's how the customer wants to see. I want to see all the colors over here, and then all of shirts and all the colors and style of shorts over here. And Doug said, that's the problem. You're thinking like a marketer and trying to make it so easy for a customer. What they're going to do is they're going to buy a shirt or they're going to buy shorts. But a merchant knows if you put the shirts and shorts together, they'll buy an outfit. And it's these little things in your career that stick with you, and you go back to and say, that's a different way of thinking. It is about making things easy. But sometimes easy can miss inspiration. And it's the same thing in data. Sometimes the data is so easy and so clear, and it's so like just a number with no meaning behind it. And you've got to have both of those sides of the coin to make it like something that anyone wants to get excited about and act upon. And so I do think you asked a short question. The long answer to that is that I think that's been really important, that marketing background, along with just a propensity for numbers and how they work, and breaking things down in hopefully somewhat simple terms, has been really, really helpful.
So great. On the marketing side, was that something you were always excited about? Did it happen as you were going through your career?
No.
Yeah.
No, so many things kind of happen to you. And when I was growing up, my father, who's such an incredible influence in my life, said to me one time, he said, "Son, well, first off, there are 2 rules kind of in our house. Number one is you're going to want to buy a car, and and we're not going to give you a penny. Number two, you're going to go to college. We're not giving you a penny." And that was like from a very young age, I understood I was going to have to work. And my dad told me one time, he said, "You're going to work, you're going to get in a career, and you're going to be somewhere for a long time. Before you do that, just think about the things you want to do that are not going to pay for a career." And so every summer and every school year, I would have a different job. So I did such wonderful things, like I ran a bulldozer for a summer. Who has the opportunity to do that? And, just things. Anyway, I finished grad school and I was headed to Georgia. I had 2 job offers in Georgia. I was waiting tables, which so many opportunities become because you're actually doing something.
100%.
Waiting tables. Some people came in, sat down. "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm headed to Georgia on Thursday. I'm going to Gainesville. I'm going to take 1 of 2 jobs within the ag pharmaceutical area." And they said, "Well, you just seem like you'd be good at marketing." I said, "1 class." And they said, we work this little agency. Would you come in and talk to us?" And I said, "No, I'm headed out next Thursday." And they said, "Well, just come talk to us tomorrow." I walked in the door and immediately I didn't know what the job was. I knew I wanted to be there. It just had that vibe. And I had a number in my head. I thought, if I get this number, I'm here. I don't care if they ask me to sweep floors. I just want to be here. And so talked to them on Friday, and then I met with Andy Murray that next Monday, and it was basically, "What's your number?" And I said, "Here's what it is." And there we go. And I start off in more of a production. I've got probably more of an engineering than a creative mind. No, not probably, I do. Start off kind of in production and managing production projects, displays and print ads and that sort of a thing. And then fast forward a little bit, and it was realized perhaps he can get along with people okay. Maybe we should put him in account management. And that's where I really cut my teeth in marketing strategy, working with creative. How do you really think about motivating people to do a thing, but not do a thing? One thing that the agency is really good at, we don't want people to do things they shouldn't do. We want to reveal to them the things that are very beneficial for them. And so there are sales we're not supposed to win. We don't even want to think about those. We're not going after those. There are sales we're supposed to win. We for sure want those. And there are a lot of jump balls in between. And we want to win those jump balls. And so that was very healthy for me to have to think through, how do we not give people a bad experience? And if you're not supposed to buy something, if it just really isn't for you, you're going to have a bad experience. And we don't want to waste your time or ours either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many great insights there. You did mention one of my favorite topics, creative. I'm going to turn that into content, of course.
Yeah.
Tell us the kind of the lay of the land. What's the latest when it comes to retailer, digital shelf, and of course, retail media is a huge topic.
Yeah, sure. So, Dave, you just opened up a weekend seminar that
we're doing multiple episodes on this one.
There you go. Probably ill-equipped to lead that weekend seminar, but I still have many thoughts and opinions. So content, let's start with maybe just a state of the world in content, or just a brief top of mind of some things. I am still amazed at how many PDPs I go to, or I do a search query, and the imagery is no good, or the description is like a repeat of the technical language on the package. It is, we still in eComm, so many brands have a, how do we get this item where we don't get, listed data in where the retailer doesn't badger us about it, and they do bare minimum. and they're missing the opportunity of ecom. And so many, and I think it's probably easy to pick on food because food's probably the newest entrant into ecom, food, impulse, like that, those kinds of areas. Still yet, you look at the numbers and we're looking at, 10, 20, and sometimes greater percent of store sales going through ecom. That's a massive number. You got to pay attention. So content, I think number one is, there are too few organizations that really take it seriously. Number two is that I think on content, we've almost, in some ways, we've all kind of jumped into the same best practices. And so there's not enough differentiation. And so the paradox of choice really comes in where everything is presented in exactly the same way. It looks like which one of these, what is different? And that's a difficult thing, and content can answer that. And I think number three, maybe around content is that one attitude is a set it and forget it attitude, and we forget how dynamic ecom is, and we also forget, they push off of content for a little bit, what lifetime value is we get out of ecom, and the numbers. So let's say your item is only pushing like 10% of sales out of ecom. The lifetime value of that customer, because we're buying off the list of what we bought last time and all that, the lifetime value is so great in ecom. Get those customers and get them before they get into other brands. And I think as an industry, we're just not, there are certainly obviously some people doing it really, really well, but in total, I think those are some real issues.
Now, you've got some pretty unique insights through the data and this capability you've built up around keywords and keyword optimization. This is a huge topic for a lot of brands we talk to at It's Rapid. Tell us what's the state of the art and any secrets you can let our listeners in on that they should maybe apply in some of their go-to-market approaches.
As you could tell, I tend to think somewhat in stories, and I'll tell a story I've told, got to be 100 times before. It's been a while back, and I was talking to someone at a major cereal manufacturer, and they said, well, we've got good news. Our merchant is going to rank us for the keyword kids cereal. I don't think we need to do any SEO because we're going to get ranked. We're going to get force ranked for kids cereal. So that's amazing news. Like if you can get pinned or force ranked or curated, that's the best SEO you can get. Go get it. So let me ask you something. How many kids cereals do you have? And they said, I bet we have 50 or 60. I said, how many of those do you think they can force rank inside the top 10 for the keyword kids cereal? And it was like light bulb. I think a couple of things, like kind of background in SEO, then we'll talk into the practical now, how do you execute it? One is we all want our item to rank number one for the number one keyword in the category. The reality is there's really only about 2, 3, 4 items that can fight for that position. A lot of our items aren't worth number one. My favorite soft drink is Barks Root Beer. It does not belong at number one for carbonated beverage. My favorite coffee is Cafe Bustelo. It does not belong at number one for coffee. They're just not that strong. And so what we have to do is really think about where can we position well. It's just like if you're a bottom shelf item trying to fight for eye level, you're not going to get there, but you may be able to punch above your weight class and get to second shelf. It's the same principles. And so the way we have thought about SEO is really through a couple of maybe somewhat unique lenses. I think when we started doing SEO, we had, the first was more unique at the time, but really retailer specific SEO. What are keywords that are strong at that retailer? So we didn't start with like Amazon keywords and coming over, Google keywords and coming over. We went to the retailer and mined the websites at the retailer to find out what are keywords on the retailer. The easiest one anybody could go do tomorrow is we just started pulling autofill. Type in A, what pops up? Type in AA, what pops up? And it you get, we go now to like, I think it's like 9 or 10 characters and we start adding words on, and it's a lot of typing in. However, now we have a list. Now and we also have some kind of prioritization. What's first, second, third in that list, and we go get like suggested search, et cetera. We've got a number of ways to pull keywords in, identify what categories are dominant in that keyword, but also what's a cross category keyword. Then we have ways of understanding, okay, is this a keyword that only the best items can rank for? Or is this a keyword that, maybe some of these fighter brands can rank for? And we apply an algorithm to really understand at this moment, this item can rank for this and this and this keyword. Or it can win. It can either move up in ranking or it can show up on that page. The data would indicate. And so we deploy those keywords. And then importantly, if that keyword kind of plays out for that item, we pull it out. The search engines at retailers don't have a memory. They don't remember that, what did I say? Cafe Bustelo should have been, it really needs to be down in the 30s or 40s in coffee. So might pull it out. We'd never pull coffee out of Cafe Bustelo because that's, what it is. But you get the idea. We'll pull a keyword out and circle back around to, and the data would indicate this is a good time to get back in, get re-indexed, fight for that keyword again, get some sales as the re-indexing happens. Might have to pull it out again. That's okay. It's really a kind of a game of gamifying SEO, and we've been doing it now for quite some time, and it's been really powerful for our client partners.
Gabe, speaking of games, I felt like I was listening to the best play-by-play right there. And I was like, I just wanted the drawing on the screen moving down the field so I could see the moving up the search rank list, so I could get the visual to go with the play-by-play. You are just so articulate and talking about this space, which is incredible. Tell us about, if you can, it's early days on some of this, but scaling the content side of things. We're talking about a few ideas together on that front. Where do you see some of the possibilities, I would say, of aligning the research with the production?
Sure. This is probably one of the more exciting arenas today. And for a couple of reasons. Number one is that, even in the SEO work we do, the bottleneck is the ability to say, I like that, the human aspect, even just the approval piece. And I think, we're starting to see some organizations think about their content in terms of like what lives on the website. That's kind of a lot of times a priority one. What goes out in mass media, that might be a priority one. We want to make sure that we've got that the brand is represented exactly, and the words are carefully gone through, and the copywriters have had all the time and revisions. Then you get kind of downstream, and the brand doesn't really monitor as much what the brand manager says in a meeting. Is that on brand or not? So we all know that there's a priority of where you have to be really, really tight, and it's important, and where you can have a little bit more leeway. And I think today with what's happening in especially Gen AI and being able to say, as an example, we've got Labor Day coming up. It's going to be great for hot dogs, and we've got grilling coming up. It's going to be amazing for chicken wings and tailgating. Be able to bring that in a, if I may use the word, rapid way through AI, bring some of those concepts, those occasions in. And then just check around the guardrails. Is this within the guardrails? Is it not? Instead of, is this perfectly how our brand would say it every time? And I use food a lot because I think food is so, one, the velocity is just so very different than most other, many other categories. But some of these items, we worry about the last sentence in the description, and I'm not saying it's not important. However, the reality is we're buying a lot of these items off the search result page. We're adding to the cart. We're making the purchase. We never get in the description. Then the folks who do get in the description, that last, if on brand was great for your tailgate game day, but the better keyword was, have fun grilling at your tailgate.
Let's go with that.
Are we not sure we should fight over that a whole lot instead of let's just go get the sales? And so again, really important in terms of brand. That's copy, but also imagery. Imagery, it's so critical. Imagery and differentiating. That is the anchor point when you make a search. And Dave, to go back to something I said earlier, if someone has bought my item for the last 6 times, that is no longer a jump ball. They're not shopping. And if I'm a competitor, I've got no opportunity to get that sale. They're buying for what they bought last time. We're really talking about when someone's looking for something new. School lunch, frozen quick meal, frozen dinner, tailgating, chicken for tailgate, barbecue chicken. Those are the times where it's like, we've got to go get those sales and get them in to then start shifting them over to what you buy last time. So we've got a longer term customer.
Gabe, there's 1,000 more questions I want to ask you, but I'm going to wrap up today with my rapid fire questions here at the end. The first of which is, and I know it's hard to pick only two, but which two people have influenced you the most in your professional career?
Probably a gentleman, Scott Allen, who worked at Saatchi X, who every evening would sit at his desk, let me come over and and ask questions. I had no idea what I was doing. And I don't know if I ever get off the ground with a gentleman named Scott Allen, one of the unsung heroes of the universe, in my opinion, is Scott Allen. Boy, number two, there are so many. I may have to rapid fire back. Some people that pop: David May, Andy Murray, Charlie Anderson. I tell you, at our shop now, Randy Mercer, who you mentioned, Steve Siviter, such good people. Chuck Browning, we've worked on and off together. Dale Treesnot, amazing influences. So that was not a responsible answer to your two, but this is one of those lists we could go for a long time. It is. I am so ignorant without the people that I've been so fortunate to work around.
Thanks, Gabe. And my second question is, if you get time, when you get time outside of work and family, favorite hobbies, what do you like to do?
Dave, I'm an outdoors person. And so I live on a small cattle farm. So I love cows. I love outside. We ride horses. I've got a 3-year-old son. I know I'm too old for that, but I do. And he loves to be on the 4-wheeler or out, anything. I'll fish, anything outside, a hike, anything I'll do outside.
Amazing. If our listeners want to reach you, find you online, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, really, I'm not great at keeping up with any kind of social media. They can reach out to me on LinkedIn. However, the best thing is GWhite at 1WorldSync, email direct. Love to hear from people and interact.
Gabe, you have such a unique and wonderful way of seeing the world and looking at problems and finding the solutions. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. It's been a pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed today's show. Beyond the Shelf is brought to you by It's Rapid. It's Rapid is the platform Pepsi, Sierra Nevada, Revlon, and hundreds of other leading brands and retailers use to build personalized content at scale. Whether that's images, videos, or product descriptions for their product detail pages, shoppable videos or banners for their digital ad campaigns, or sell sheets for sales enablement, brands that use It's Rapid are able to produce high-quality, on-brand content on average more than 80% faster than category competitors. To find out more, please visit itsrapid.ai. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Beyond the Shelf.